America is faced with her worst domestic crisis since the Civil War, or since the Revolutionary War. For America now faces a race war. A race war is worse than a revolutionary war. A race war is worse than a civil war. A race war is a war in which no holes are barred. A race war is a war in which children are destroyed, in which children are mutilated, in which children face the same destructive wrath that grown-ups face. A race war is the worst war that you can conceive. And this war, race war that is coming upon the head of the white man, is something that he is bringing down upon himself. The entire country is on the verge of erupting into racial violence and bloodshed, simply because 20 million ex-slaves are demanding freedom, justice, and equality here in America from their former slave master. 20 million so-called Negroes, second-class citizens, seeking human dignity, seeking human rights, seeking the right to live in dignity as a human being. And rather than give genuine respect and recognition to your cry for human rights, the American white man answers your nonviolence with violence. He answers your prayers and your freedom songs with false promises, deceitful maneuvers, and outright bloodshed. According to what we are taught from the white man's textbooks in his school, the Revolutionary War and the Civil War were two wars fought on American soil, supposedly for freedom and democracy. But if these two wars were really for the freedom and human dignity of all men, why are 20 million of our people still confined here in America and enslaved by second-class citizenship? Something is wrong. The truth is that the Revolutionary War was fought on American soil to free the American white man from the English white man. The Revolutionary War was never fought to provide freedom and democracy in this white country for the black man. Our people remain slaves here in America even after the Declaration of Independence was signed. In fact, most of the white founding fathers who signed the Declaration of Independence were nothing but slave owners themselves. It is sheer hypocrisy, sheer ignorance, sheer insanity for our people here in America to celebrate the 4th of July as Independence Day, while white America still denies us first-class citizenship that goes with an independent people. And it is nothing but hypocrisy for the American white man to pretend that the Revolutionary War was truly a war of independence as long as 20 million black people here in America are denied the privileges of an independent people. Don't let the white man fool you. Don't let the white man smile at you and lull you to sleep. Behind that smile is a vicious heart. Behind those teeth is an animal-like beast who doesn't have it within him to want for you what he wants for himself and his own kind. Don't let that man fool you. When you look at that man, you're supposed to see him for exactly what he is. And if you want to know what he is, examine his deeds. Forget his words. He got a whole lot of pretty sounding words. Watch his deeds. His deeds are like the deeds of a snake, the deeds of a dragon, the deeds of a reptile, the deeds of a beast. Why, nothing but a race of beasts would take dogs and stick them on little black babies. Nothing but a race of beasts will stick dogs on black children and black women. Nothing but a race of beasts. And it is these deeds today that's causing the wrath of God to come down upon the head of the white man. And when you see him as he is and see how much hell he's catching, you're out of his mind to want to be with him. You're out of your mind to want to integrate with him. And you're really out of your mind if you take time to forgive him and ask God to have mercy on him. No, ask God to judge him. Ask God to do unto him as he has done unto you. He has caused your babies to suffer. Ask God to heap suffering suffering upon his babies. He has caused your women to suffer. Ask God to heap suffering on his women. He has caused all of our people to suffer. You can't deny that. You may not like my saying it, but you can't deny it. Why, you got scars and knots on your head from the top of your head to the bottom of your feet. And every one of those scars is evidence against the American white man and his inhumanity to man. And as I mentioned at our rally a couple of weeks ago, the worst housing conditions in every city in America always exist in the so-called Negro community. Yet the white liberals who own these rundown houses force us to pay the highest rent. And that's who owns these houses. White liberals, your white friend, your white benefactor, your white buddy who joins your integrated organization. That's the white man who's your landlord. That's the white man who is bilking you and robbing you and exploiting you. That blue-eyed thing that walks around here in Harlem collecting rent, trying to pat you on the back and tell you how much progress you're making when you're catching more hell today than your grandfather caught 100 years ago. You have to excuse me for being blunt speaking and frank talking. We don't care who likes it or not, as long as we know it's the truth. Much of what I say might sound bitter, but it's the truth.
Right.
Much of what I say might sound like it's stirring up trouble, but it's the truth.
Right.
Much of what I say might sound like it is hate, but it's the truth. And God has mentioned in the Bible, it's truth alone today that'll make you free. If you're afraid to tell the truth, why, you don't even deserve freedom. Just tell the truth. The best thing to put the white man to flight is truth. He can't take the truth. He can't stand the truth. He doesn't like the truth, especially when you know the truth about him. The truth about how he got those blue eyes, and the truth about how he got that stringy dog-like hair, and the truth about how his skin became as pale and pallid and sickly as it is. When you know the truth about how he got the way he is, you can run him down the street with nothing but truth. You don't need any blade. You don't need any switchblade. All you need is the truth. They put you in jail for carrying a blade, but they can't put you in jail for telling the truth. Here in Harlem, we have the worst homes that pay the highest rent. High overhead. We are forced to take in roomers in order to help us pay our rent. Y'all experience that every day. You rent one of these old rundown apartments here in Harlem from the white man. And he charges you so much rent for that apartment, you got to rent part of it out in order to get some of your money back. So what happens? Our apartments become filled with relatives, with strangers. Our community becomes overcrowded. And these overcrowded conditions under which our people are forced to live eliminates all chance for a normal home, for a clean home, or for a healthy home. Your home soon becomes filled with cockroaches and rats who live better than you do. And because our children are forced to grow up in this overcrowded atmosphere, the lack of much-needed privacy destroys their sense of shame. It lowers their moral standards and leaves them exposed to every form of indecency and vice that is running rampant in the community. There'll be no skullduggery, no flim-flam, no compromise, no sellout, no control show, no false show. No, we either this or that. This or that. If you're wrong, you're wrong, and if you're right, you're right. And if the people down there are right, they don't have anything to worry about. But if they're wrong, they should be worrying. Because God is against ugly. God doesn't like ugly. When you get real ugly, God chastises. And he chastises you in a way that you least expect it. If he doesn't strike you, he'll strike your children.
Right.
He'll strike at you through the ones you love the most. He'll make your babies be born dead. And it will serve you right. groundwork for our unity rally here today with a few introductory remarks before bringing forth those of our speakers who have showed up. America is faced with her gravest crisis since the Civil War. Wherever we look today, whether it's south, north, east, or west, we see increasing race tensions. We see the increase of racial animosity, racial hostility, and outright racial hatred. We see masses of black people who have lost all confidence in the false promises of hypocritical white politicians. We see masses of black people who are thoroughly fed up with the deceit of white so-called liberals. The Civil War was also fought on this continent, not to free the black slaves, as is commonly taught in the white man's schools, but the Civil War was actually fought to preserve the Union, preserve this country, keep it intact for white people. It wasn't fought to set you free. It wasn't fought to give you some kind of emancipation. It wasn't fought to make you a citizen. It wasn't fought to give you civil rights. It wasn't fought because they respected you and loved you as a human being. It was fought out of greed. It was fought out of selfishness. It was fought to keep this country intact for their own white selves. In essence, this only means that the American white man fought the Revolutionary War to get this country for himself. And he then fought the Civil War to keep this country intact for himself. And today, he will now fight a race war to keep from having to share this white country on an equal basis with anyone else but his white self, especially on an equal basis with his 20 million former slaves. So again I ask, where will all of these demonstrations end? And who dares to say that our people are not justified by demonstrating their resentment over the injustice and mistreatment that our people have suffered these 400 years at the hands of this cruel, inhuman American white man? We have nothing to lose but our chains. We have nothing to lose but the hell we experience every day living here in these rat-filled slums. For 8 weeks in Los Angeles, 14 so-called Negroes sat on trial, charged by the police with assault, charged by the police with intent to commit murder. You haven't read anything about it in the paper. You haven't seen anything about it and heard anything about it from these blue-eyed white so-called liberals. They quieted it down. They hushed it up. And none of the Negro leaders opened up their mouths during the trial. They were silent while they had a rally of 35,000 Negroes in one of those Wrigley Field in Los Angeles, while the all-white jury was in session. And not one of them came forth and mentioned what had happened to those 14 Negroes in that city. And they wonder why things are developing to what they are today. No, you don't get justice in court. A black man can't get justice in court. A black man can't get justice in the court system of America. And I'm telling you, the only way you get justice is in the street. The only way you get justice is in the sidewalk. The only way you get justice is when you make justice for yourself. You never will get justice in the white man's court. No, not me. I never want him to take me to court. I saw what he did with my brothers. I see what he has done with them right here in New York City. So make sure you obey the law. Make sure you never commit a crime. Make sure you never deviate from the law. But any time one of them puts his hands on you, take him off the planet. Take him off the planet. Sir? Yes. They're going to have a funeral in Harlem. Make sure they have a funeral downtown, too. 2 funerals at the same time. We want peace. We want justice. We want respect. We want to carry ourselves with dignity, but we don't want to walk around here in a police state giving people the right to think that they can take our life or break our limb or bust our head, and that's all that's going to happen from it. So I'm want to be Muslim. I'm telling you what Mayor Wagner does and what Governor Rockefeller does. That they're a race of devils. And I pray that God will strike them. Yes, I pray that God will strike them. Put death in their family, death on their relatives, and death on their friends. I pray that God will bring that on them. Yes, I pray that God will strike them with death and disease and destruction and misery and grief because they have put it on us. And when God gives it to them, no one can say that God is unjust. God is just.